What if the world you're watching is already being controlled? Yes, I researched the person who illustrated the Economist cover for 2026 and studied its content. So, what does this year hold for us? What you are about to see and hear may challenge what you think you know. Here is The World in 2026, The Economist's annual year-end issue. Some people associated this illustration with a virus. Others claim that the image had no real meaning at all. I heard so many ridiculous interpretations from people appearing on television, and they were explaining these ideas on major channels. So let me explain what is actually happening. Just like the past 4 years, the magazine cover is designed around a circular composition. Everything that is happening takes place on what resembles a football. Look closely at the lines in the background. When highlighted, they become even clearer. At the very bottom, the moment right after a footballer strikes the ball is illustrated. On the Economist 2024 cover, two contrasting colors were used, and the same colors appear again this year, blue and red. These are perhaps the two strongest color palettes used to represent polarization and division. In other words, the cover suggests that in 2026, this tradition continues, emphasizing that ideological and social division is still very much present. In fact, if you look closely, you can see that the cover actually depicts a celebration. The cake at the center, the balloons surrounding it, the raised glasses, and the money-like confetti scattered around clearly illustrate the celebration. What is being celebrated is America's 250th anniversary, yet at the same time, a chaotic atmosphere dominates the cover. Everything is deliberately illustrated in a disorderly manner. 2026 is described as a year defined by uncertainty. Although the cake appears to symbolize a celebration, it also seems to represent the beginning of fragmentation. Each figure surrounding the cake suggests a shift in the global balance and points to America weakening from within. The pills scattered around it, gunfire directed toward the cake, and a hand bound in chains all reinforce this idea. Just behind the chained hand rising upward, an American flag is visible. The message here is this: America, known as the land of freedom, is turning 250, yet it appears bound by the chains of its own militarism. In other words, despite being praised as a nation of freedom, the illustration suggests that America's internal policies, particularly its heavy reliance on militarization, have begun to limit its ability to act freely. The country's continued use of military power to maintain its global role, its excessive dependence on defense spending, and its reliance on armed deterrence in foreign policy place it in a form of dependency that contradicts its founding ideals. For this reason, just behind the cake, we see a hand representing America bound in chains. The missiles positioned to the right and left of the hand symbolize militarism, suggesting a country overly dependent on its military. The ship on the far left clearly belongs to China. This is a reference to the ongoing trade wars between China and the United States. China is depicted with its weapons aimed at America. It has even opened fire, but not without reason. At first glance, it may appear as if China has initiated a conflict. However, when you look more closely, you can see that China has only just begun firing, while satellites above reveal that China has already been struck. These satellites are likely a reference to Elon Musk's satellite network, suggesting that China is responding to actions already taken against it. In 2026, we are likely to witness a new phase of trade conflict between the United States and China. If this conflict escalates into a broader confrontation, it appears that Trump would be the one to initiate it. Standing behind Trump are India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Opposing him are China's leader Xi Jinping, Israel's leader, and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The illustration on the cover visually represents drawn swords, a symbolic message that a financial war has begun. Among them, only Trump's hat is visible. It is the Make America Great Again hat, a slogan that means making America great again. Among them, only Trump's hat is visible. It is the Make America Great Again hat, a slogan that means making America great again. Today, the digital gaming industry has become a massive economic and cultural force that directly influences the human brain. This is why the game console is depicted as being directly connected to the human mind. Games have come to play a decisive role in character development, especially among younger generations, shaping personality, identity, and perception of the world. The armor we wear in games, the decisions we make, and the sides we choose increasingly influence our real-life attitudes and choices. As a result, the controllers we use no longer just control in-game objects, they begin to control us as well. Our brains have gradually turned into cyber-biological systems that are highly open to control. We have become societies guided by screens. Across the image, we also see long and round pill-shaped objects scattered around. These represent weight loss and diabetes medications. Worldwide, and especially in the United States, obesity has reached extreme levels. This inevitably affects both mental health and physical well-being. Some of these medications, particularly the most effective ones, are expected to become available in pill form in the near future. This would significantly increase accessibility. However, this development may create a major problem in the coming years. In the upper right section of the image, we can see a small ship. There are two people inside, and one of them appears to be extending an amphora toward the other side. This vessel resembles an ancient Greek trireme-style ship. This can be identified by the patterns on the ship, its structure, and the clothing worn by those inside. The design reflects Hellenistic-era architecture. In fact, the same patterns can be seen in ancient Greek temples. The person at the front of the ship is extending an amphora towards Zelensky. An amphora is traditionally valuable and is used to carry precious goods. What is depicted here is essentially a political caricature. It subtly illustrates the European Union's support for Zelensky. The amphora symbolizes financial aid and military assistance, implying that this support will continue discreetly. Very recently, Zelensky and Macron signed a strategic agreement that includes long-term military and economic support. This development is still quite new. Even this recent agreement clearly reinforces the message conveyed by the image. Speaking of the economy, there is a graph positioned at the center of the image, and if you look closely, it is trending downward. The dollar symbol appears cracked. This represents currency instability and the rise of digital currencies. Earlier, I mentioned the confetti resembling paper money. This is actually a clear reference to how physical cash is expected to lose its value. The message suggests that traditional money is gradually fading away. Have you noticed the positions in which the figures are standing? They appear quite unusual, almost as if they are in motion, or behaving like robots. The only figure standing without losing balance appears to be China's leader. What this represents is something I leave to you to interpret in the comments. In the lower right corner, the football player highlights the 2026 World Cup. The footballer is depicted in the moment just after striking the ball, and the object beneath him is the world itself. This is a very powerful metaphor. The footballer represents those who hold power, while the ball symbolizes the world. The message is clear. The world is being directed like a football, kicked and shaped by global powers, as if everything has been left to their skill and control. Beyond the World Cup, the 2026 Milan Winter Olympics are also depicted. However, the blister packaging placed right next to the athletes carries a strong implication. It raises a question: will athletes compete based on their own performance or through the use of performance-enhancing drugs? In addition to this, the image references the melting of the southern ice caps, pointing to the climate crisis. Robots powered by artificial intelligence taking over the workforce, leading to widespread unemployment and advances in space technologies. But above all, the dominant theme is war. Across the image, tanks, missiles, and bomb-carrying drones appear far more frequently than anything else. Wars are still ongoing in many parts of the world, including Gaza and Sudan, and the image suggests that this will continue into 2026. However, there is also a hope that these injustices will come to an end as 2026 begins. Yet, there is said to be a hidden leader who calls for an end to these wars and shields the world from an economic balance war: Erdogan. So where was this so-called hidden leader, Erdogan, within this image? I would like to say that the most beautiful detail in the illustration is the figure standing alone, holding the power of veto. The artist's true message is this: the one who does not approve of the corrupted justice system surrounding them, the economic crisis, the forced vaccinations imposed in the past, the artificial intelligence that may cause unemployment, and all these wars, the one who stands against this broken order is us. Those who are forced to live within a system created by others, in the midst of all this chaos and uncertainty. Wait a moment. What if